Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 336 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger, one of my best friends in the world. It is of course Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Always good when speaking with you. A little warning I want to issue before we start this week's show. You're going to probably feel like you've banged your head and woke up in 2007 or something. Some of the names in action this weekend are quite unbelievable. And I'm going to tell a few truths about last weekend as well in the review part, which we'll get into straight away. But there's a lot on my mind, so I'm just going to unleash it. There's the warning. Anyway, let's start with a card that took place on Friday night, just gone at the Duty Free Tennis Stadium in Dubai. I didn't actually get round to watching this card, so I'm really apologetic for that. Didn't manage to see it. Only saw a couple rounds, I think, of the main event. Let's get to it anyway. O'Shaquie Foster now 19-2, a unanimous decision win over 12 rounds against Muhammad Kuja Yakubov, who was 18-0 undefeated, now 18-1. Yakubov down in the 12th and final round. It was for the WBC Silver Super Featherweight title. O'Shaquie Foster, again, I've said it for a long time now. Regis Prograis always told me how good this guy is, and it was his stage to kind of come alive, you know, because he's a good sparrer, I've heard, but he hasn't had the best pro career, and he's now 19-2, like I say. But yeah, I think he's number one with one of the sanctioning bodies. I think it could be the WBC. This was a final eliminator. Yakubov used to be number one with a WBO, so I'm guessing he's going to probably, you know, take a few steps back. Anyway, good win there for Foster. Elsewhere on the card, John O'Carroll, friend of the show, with a win. He's now 22-2 with a draw. A TKO in round 4 against Patrick Aryi, who's now 21-1 with a draw. He was undefeated, so a good win there for John O'Carroll. Estelle Mosley as well, the wife of Tony Yoka. She's now 10-0. It was for the IBO World Female Lightweight title. She was able to beat Yanina Lescano by split decision over 10 2-minute rounds. Lescano now 10-2, her record. Bakadir Jalalov as well with a win. He's now 10-0. He was able to KO in round 5 Kamil Sokolowski, who was down twice in that round. Very impressive, because a lot of people don't manage to stop Sokolowski, and a lot of people don't even manage to beat him, by the way. So Jalalov clearly a few leagues apart with Sokolowski. And a man that for me kind of stole the show really, Shabazz Massoud, now 10-0. He was able to beat Yon Boyo, who's now 43-7. Boyo failed to come out for round 3, and I've said it before, Boyo, you know, has got quite a padded record, but he's been in there deep with some guys, and you know, most of his big fights were losses and stuff like that, but still a record that you've got to give some kind of respect to, even though it's padded. And he's been in there, you know, and gone the distance and lost to Paul Butler, so that kind of is a measuring stick here. He lost to Paul Butler on points back in 2018. He was stopped in 3 rounds by Naoya Inoue back in 2017. You know, he's got a couple decent wins. It's not all bad really. Lost to Carl Frampton on points back in 2010. That's going back now. But yeah, for Shabazz Massoud to take him out, you know, the quickest, that is quite a statement there for a guy who was only having his 10th fight. So good stuff there for him. Moving out now to the Star Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. This one over here, Jacob NG. He was 15-0 going in against Billy Dibb, who's now 48 and 6. Jacob NG actually disqualified. It was for the IBF International and the WBO Oriental lightweight titles. Disqualified in round 6. He kind of picked Billy Dib up and just kind of slammed him. It was weird. You know, it doesn't really happen in boxing too often, a disqualification. Certainly not for this kind of thing. It was really, really, really weird. But yeah, Billy Dib, you know, got slammed on the floor. Dislodged his rib, and I think it was a bit more serious than that as well. Yeah, he had 3 separate fractures actually due to being flipped on the canvas. It was a bit freakish, but it is what it is, and all the best to Billy Dib. Got the win. He was losing the fight as well, so on one card he actually lost all 5 rounds. So yeah, anyway, good stuff for him. Moving out now to the duty-free tennis stadium again, Dubai. They had a card on Friday and Saturday. This is a Saturday one, and again, I'm afraid to say I didn't see it. I was actually at a show, so I missed this one. But anyways, let's start with the main event. Sonny Edwards with a win now, 18-0, a unanimous decision over 12 against Mohamed Wasim. Kind of, you know, as you'd expect it to have gone. Quite wide in the end for Sonny Edwards. I think the pair had sparred previously before as well, so they kind of knew each other quite well. Sonny Edwards obviously Sonny Edwards with a defence, of course, of his IBF World Flyweight title. So yeah, as expected, there are points win for Sonny Edwards. Elsewhere on the card, Regis Prograis with a win over Tyrone McKenna. I believe he's become the first man to stop McKenna. It was a TKO in round 6. McKenna was down in round 2. Prograis now 27-1. McKenna 22-3 with a draw. Way too good for McKenna is Prograis and was Prograis. It was a mismatch. It always was. I said it to Prograis. I don't know if he liked what I said actually, because when the fight first got made, I texted him and I said, is the fight actually happening? Like, because there was talk about it for a while. And is it actually happening? Is it actually on? And he said, yeah. And I said, what is the point? And he didn't reply. And I said, like, that's a complete mismatch. And he didn't reply. So I'm not sure he was too happy about it. Saying that, though, we did an interview, I think, a few weeks back. So I don't think he's too mad. But yeah, mismatch from the get-go, and it showed in the ring. TJ Doheny also on the card as well. He picked up a win, a TKO in round 2 against Cesar Juarez, now 27-11. TJ Doheny now 23-3. Peter McGraw as well on the card with a win, a second round TKO against Alexandru Ionita, who's now 7-11 with a draw. Peter McGraw 3-0. Moving out now to the card that I was present for at the Wembley Arena, London, United Kingdom on BT Sport. Starting with the main event, let's start with this one. Friend of the show, David Avanesian, with a TKO in the very first round against Oskari Metz, the previously undefeated fighter, 15-0, now 15-1. Down once prior to the stoppage. Way too good for him was Avanesian. It wasn't the fight that we wanted to see, and I don't think it was really the fight that Avanesian wanted to have. It was pretty much a keep busy fight, as I outlined on last week's show. So it was a kind of case of, you know, keep active, keep the EBU title, get a defense of it, and a big one next perhaps. So yeah, he went through him like a hot knife through butter. Really, it was easy, and Metz was just being hit clean so many times on the ropes, and the referee did the right thing to stop it. You know, he was on the verge probably of being seriously hurt. Elsewhere on the card, a brilliant win for Hamza Shiraz. I'm going to give him a lot of credit here. 15-0 now, a KO in the second round against Jez Smith, who's now 13-5 with a draw. A lot of people felt that Jez Smith might pose a threat to Hamza Shiraz just because he's a tricky fighter. He's always very game, and he was given a lot of notice, which doesn't always happen. It was for the vacant WBC International Silver Middleweight title. It's crazy now that there's silver titles at international level. I'm not sure when that came into play. Don't think it's been around for too long. Smith down in the first round and then down in the second round. I saw Mitchell Smith as well, the brother of Jez Smith. He was actually ringside, and I've got to say, he shedded so much weight. He looks absolutely fantastic. It was a real brilliant sight to see him back ringside cheering on his brother. We want to see him back in the ring. He was a great talent for a while, and then he disappeared. I think he went to prison, and the rest of it put on loads of weight. Anyways, all the best to him. But getting back onto the fight, good stuff for Hamza Shiraz as well. Hasn't had the best time recently. The controversial win over Bradley Skeet wasn't really his fault, kind of thing. Well, I guess it kind of was, but the officials didn't really. They made a mistake as well, and that was the main thing, and they didn't make up for it, and he had to move on, and fair play to him. It's a good win, and like I say, a lot of people felt Smith might have a few tools that he could bring to the table, some problems he could pose, but didn't really get going at all, and he's gone for him quickly there, Shiraz, and not many people do that to Jez Smith, so tough place for Jez Smith to kind of come back from this, but great stuff for Hamza Shiraz, who, as I said, is out there in Van Nuys, California, training under Ricky Funes at the Goosen boxing gym, or Tengoose, I think they call it. Elsewhere on the card, a good win for Mark Chamberlain as well. I think he was probably a little bit too big for his opponent, Jeff Ofori, who, again, a lot of people felt could maybe do something there, but no, he didn't get into the fight at all. He's now 11-4 with a draw, Ofori, and Mark Chamberlain 10-0, like I say. Retirement win in round 5 there. Sam Noakes, he was on last week's show, and he was back once again with a bang. 9-0, 9 KOs, a KO in round 4 against a previously undefeated. Sorry, not previously undefeated. He'd never been stopped. He was 15-4 with 2 draws. Now 15-5 with 2 draws. Never been stopped. He was knocked out in round 4. It was for the WBC International Silver Lightweight title. Finiello down from a right uppercut prior to the knockout. Nice knockout from Sam Noakes, who some people kind of got back to me after last week's show, said they like Sam Noakes, very down to earth, really cool guy, stuff like that. We got some good feedback. So yeah, pleased for Sam Noakes, man. Really pleased for him. I think the power is certainly real. This guy was a southpaw. I think it's the second time he's boxed a southpaw in his 9 fights. He's knocked them both out, I think, in round 1 and round 4. So yeah, the power is very real. And one thing I loved about Vincenzo Finiello is that after he got knocked out, he got back up and he decided to pick Sam Noakes up on his shoulders and then parade him round the ring with his arms up as if he was celebrating something. So I've never seen a fighter get knocked out then get back up off the canvas and do that after the fight. He was very, very happy, it seemed, with being stopped, which was kind of weird. Great sportsmanship though, that's what I'm getting at there. Dennis McCann with a win as well. He's now 12-0, a unanimous decision over 8 rounds against Charles Tondo. Scorecard's very wide in the end, but I don't think they really tell the story of the fight. Charles Tondo was quite tough, very tough actually, and he landed some great shots on Dennis McCann. He certainly had to eat a lot more shots than he would have been happy with. So yeah, still improvements that I want to see from McCann, but you know what? He's still so young. He's still getting better and stuff all the time, and I think give him a couple of years. I think he's going to really improve. That one, by the way, was for the vacant WBO Youth Super Bantamweight title, so that now belongs to Dennis McCann. Moving out now to the Hilton Hotel in Newcastle, Tyne Wear. Just one fight to mention. Dave, the White Rhino Allen, was back with a bang. A TKO win in round 2 against Milan Paunov, who's now 5-9. Dave Allen now 20-5 with 2 draws, so that's nice to see him get to 20 wins. Moving out now to the USC Galen Center in Los Angeles, California, USA. This one I think is there's 2 more cards to go over. This is the first of the 2. The main event, Alexis Rocha, now 19-1. He was able to knock out in round 9 Blair Cobbs, friend of the show, now 15-1 with a draw. Cobbs down in round 8, and it was tough to see really, because I want to kind of say that maybe Blair Cobbs was found out a little bit. I mean, he's a great showman. He's colourful, he's exciting and stuff, but I think, and I've always kind of felt it about him, there's confidence and there's delusion, and the way he speaks about some of the top fighters, namely what I think he was saying about Errol Spence, just seems ridiculous and, based off of nothing. And now this loss, I think, hurts even worse for him. We've got a lot of people kind of making fun of him now. But yeah, as for Rocha, he broke him down. Cobbs was ragged. He was easy to hit. The best thing I think he did was just get on the bicycle and dance around, really. He landed 2 great left hands in one of the rounds, but Rocha didn't budge. But yeah, Cobbs at the end pretty much had nothing. Freddie Roach even threatened to stop the fight in the corner after Cobbs got dropped. He actually said, "You're getting killed in there." And, Cobbs begged to go back out. He was going to go back out on the promise he was going to show Freddie Roach something. He came back out. He got stopped in that next round. But yeah, Cobbs, 32 years of age, hasn't really been active enough in his career. Started late, never really looked able to cut it at the top level. Had a few scares, even just getting to 13-0, and now obviously he's lost his O. Again, Rocha I don't think is a world beater, but he was just, a level above Cobbs, unfortunately. And Cobbs, I think, I don't think he's ever going to be a world champion. I hope that doesn't come across harsh. I really like the guy. I hope he can come back and salvage something of his career. I like the guy, like I say, but nah, not world level. Don't think he's going to get there. Not everyone can be. There's nothing wrong with that. Eddie, you've unmuted. I think you used to know Blair Cobbs back in the day. Did you want to add something?
Yeah. I knew Blair. He was a lot quieter.
Did you watch the fight? Yeah.
Yeah, I watched.
Okay.
I watched more of the highlights of it. I was trying to watch it live, but I just wasn't able to get. I think I got in too late or whatever. I can't remember for sure. But Blair still reminds me that he still does the same things that he was doing when he was younger. Extremely athletic and explosive, but so flawed in so many ways. He just does so many things wrong. And he has this blind belief, which is generally a good thing. You're confident to be really confident. But he just had it in a negative, and I think it was a little bit too much and a little negative. And he always wasn't respecting a lot of his peers who were, levels above him. You could just see the way he talks. And those type of situations will put you in a fight, or in a situation in a fight where you're just not expecting to have it hard. And then when it turned up on him, and he's, trying to figure it out, he's, at this point, he doesn't know, he doesn't have a plan B. You understand what I'm saying? He just feels like, I'm Blair. I'm supposed to go in. I'm Blair the Flair. I'm supposed to go in and take people apart. Doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? You got to do the work in the gym. You got to do the work throughout your career. And you got to respect who you're in the ring with. And that proves it. When you don't, that's what happens to you. And, yeah, he used to be in the gym with us, and he would do well at times. I remember he spar Steve all the time, and those sparring sessions were difficult for him, but then other times he did well, and he got better, but he was more quiet then, but, his whole persona, I guess, changed as, once he started moving out west. And now he thinks he's, he thought he was the pound for pound best, and now he sees he's not even close to that. So, it's unfortunate that had to happen to him, but it's boxing. Sometimes you get disappointed. It's important for him to come back and really try to improve skill-wise and really do some things that improve his position as a fighter in the long term.
Yeah, I remember the first time I interviewed Blair, and I didn't actually know much about him. I'm going to say it now. Someone actually asked me to do the interview with him, and I didn't know who he was at the time. And when I got him on, he kind of, he was telling me, Blair the Flair, and I said, what, for those that haven't seen you fight before, what kind of style do you have? What other fighter out there that we would have known, a well-known fighter, what kind of style do you have? And he said, Manny Pacquiao. And I was like, wow, okay. And he was like, he's got the speed, he's got the power, he's stopping people, he's, he was talking, I think, smack about maybe some of the top fighters, and I was thinking, wow, this guy, this is going to be interesting. But, it is what it is. We shall see. All the best to him. We like him on this show. We certainly do. On the undercard of that, by the way, we had Ramla Ali with a win. She's 5-0, a KO in round 2 against Shelly Barnett. Good stuff there for Ramla Ali, managed by Anthony Joshua obviously a British female fighter. Beck the Bully, he was back as well with another win. He's now 9-1, a KO in round 2 against David Zagara, who is now 34-8. Melokuziev pretty much back to what he was doing before he got absolutely poleaxed by Gabe Rosado, who was actually doing a bit of commentary as well. I don't think he would have been too pleased to see him in the building. When he's walking to the ring and he glances over and sees Gabe Rosado, wouldn't do him too much in the confidence section. Elsewhere on the card, Michael McKinson as well, friend of the show. Obviously, gutted for him that the Virgil Ortiz fight fell apart at the last stages, but he did fight, thankfully. He's now 22-0, unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Alex Martin. Was a little bit close, I think, going down the stretch, even though they didn't have it too close on the scorecards. Martin now 17-4. McKinson was doing what he usually does. For those that haven't seen him before, he kind of hits, doesn't get hit. He's very elusive, great judge of distance, good footwork. He can change his hand speed up really quickly as well. He kind of throws shots from unusual angles. But, credit as well to his opponent, who wasn't really a true welterweight and obviously came in on, I think it was like 2 days' notice or something. But, McKinson, he's got a bit of swagger about his work. I always like watching him fight. Ever since I first kind of discovered him on a small horse show, I thought, wow, he's going to be something. And he's been proving me right ever since. But no, his opponent started really well. And the other thing I was going to say is that, it's very difficult to prepare all camp for a puncher, an aggressive, come forward style like Virgil Ortiz, and then completely, with a couple days out, fight the polar opposite, which is a guy that doesn't really want to engage, isn't coming forward, is boxing off the back foot, and isn't too much of a puncher. It's like the complete opposite to what you've been preparing for. So I think we need to cut McKinson a little bit of slack there for those that weren't too impressed, those that were watching it saying, wow, look at this guy, Virgil Ortiz would have slaughtered him, good job he didn't end up fighting him. I didn't really like seeing that from, I think, a lot of the US based people that probably haven't seen McKinson fight before and think that is all what he can do. He's a very good fighter, proven as well, and he wouldn't have boxed like that against Ortiz. He was completely expecting something different. Let's cut him a little bit of slack there. Moving out now to the final card. It took place at the Madison Square Garden Theatre in New York. Let's talk about the undercard first. We had a win for Xander Zayas, who's just looking good every single time we see him fight. The Puerto Rican prospect, now 13-0, a unanimous decision over 8 rounds against Quincy Levi, who's now 12-3 with a draw. And then there's the main event. Edgar Berlanga, 19-0, goes the distance for the 3rd time in a row, since stopping that unbelievable 16-0 first round knockout streak. Since then, he's gone the distance 3 times, and he went the distance here against Steve Rolls, and it was relatively close. Steve Rolls now 21-2. It was for the WBO, NABO Super-Middleweight title. I was absolutely fuming at my TV when I saw this, by the way, because I put on, as they say, an accumulator / parlay. And I was very, very confident in it coming through, to be completely honest with you. And I'm going to... I need to find the parlay now because it's going to annoy me. Where's it gone? Yeah, here it is. So I had Oshaki Foster to win the fight against Muhammad Kuja Yakubov. He did. I had Estelle Mosley to win her fight by decision. She did. I had Shabazz Massoud to win his fight any method. He did. I had Regis Prograis to win by knockout against McKenna. He did. I had Sonny Edwards to beat Wasim on points. He did. I had Sam Noakes to win his fight by knockout. He did. I picked David Avanesian to win his fight by knockout. he did. I had Alexis Rocha and Blair Cobbs to not go the distance. It almost did. It went to round 9, but that one came through as well. And then I had Edgar Berlanga to win by knockout because I thought he might be able to knock out Steve Rose, who he's much bigger than, and he let me down, man. I would have made, I think, about 18 times my stake if that would have came in, and instead I lost it all. So thank you very much to Edgar Berlanga. I was so fuming with my TV and everything. I was screaming at the TV. Whenever Berlanga did let his hands go, he looked a little bit dangerous, but at the same time he looked a bit worried about getting hit. And I was so fuming after the fight that I tweeted something that is probably the most disrespectful thing I've ever said about a fighter. And I don't like to do it. Listen, there's loads of podcasts out there that like to spend all their time being negative about various different fighters and promoters and stuff like that. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not here for negativity, and that's not my style. You should probably know that if you listen to the show. I don't like to talk negative. I like to really, actually inflate a fighter's ego, if anything. And this time I sent a tweet out and I said that Edgar Berlanga, if he doesn't get a knockout in the first round, his twin sister gets in, his identical twin sister gets in the ring after round 1 and takes his place for the rest of the fight with no one noticing. And Caleb Truax commented with laughing faces, so he liked it. But I almost wanted to delete the tweet, but I was so annoyed at the time. Did you see any of it, Eddie? Because we were kind of flapping, me and you, last week. I was saying that I don't think Steve Rose is all that bad, and if anything, he might have proved me right going the distance with Edgar Berlanga.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I didn't watch any of it. And I forgot about it. I don't know how I did, because I knew he was fighting, but I forgot about him fighting Steve Rose. I kind of want to look at it now to kind of see how Steve Rose looked, because him being
pretty good, and
that's what, because me looking at him as the guy that the A side, he just didn't really. He's like a older, like basic, decent guy who could carry a fight, can stay around, make it difficult for a guy, a little difficult. But if he gets in there with somebody who's a serious talent, should just annihilate him, no disrespect. And, hearing that Berlanga didn't do that, I just got to see it. I got to see how he looked. And I'm not being disrespectful to Steve Rose, man. I mean, he's obviously a pro's pro, you know what I mean? He's up there, he's doing it. So it's just hearing, the how great Berlanga is as a fighter, to then see him, like these last 3 fights and, having the difficulty and then not, blowing this guy away, kind of makes, he seems human. And I mean, hey, look, he's still a top level, a top level prospect, a good talent and everything. It's, it's not taking nothing away from him or even taking anything away from Steve Rose. It's just that I don't see that much from Steve Rose, no disrespect. So that's if you want to look at Steve Rose as a measuring stick for Edgar Berlanga, I don't know how good of a win it is without him. Like, I don't know if he dominated. I didn't see a minute of it, but I'm pretty sure he did. But just like not, knocking him down, not really, not taking him apart like he should have, in my opinion, could be a bit of a negative review on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I'd say he dominated. It was very nip and tuck, and, at times he just wasn't letting his hands go. I'm not sure why, but whenever he did let his hands go, he looked like he was, having success with it, and he would hit rolls, at occasions or on occasions, and it seemed like if he maybe followed up with 2 or 3 more, he might have him going. Like, Rose didn't really like it, but Rose showed a lot of good movement, and he kind of just rolled out of there, to be honest with you. A bit of a play on his name. But no, he boxed pretty well. He was moving. He showed his footwork off. He had better footwork than Berlanga. And I don't know if Berlanga just kind of fell in love with himself a little bit and bought into his own hype, which is hard not to do when you're knocking 16 people out in the first round in a row. But he I saw a little clip of him before the fight, and it was him and Jared Anderson, both in the same gym, and they were talking, well, it was mainly Berlanga talking, it was a promo for his fight, but he was talking about, you know, how he loves Jared Anderson, and they're both like brothers, and, you know, they're both going to be superstars, and we're born to do this stuff. And I kind of thought to myself, he's almost the exact opposite of Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson, I think he's a very hard-working young heavyweight, obviously spars with Tyson Fury, stuff like that. He's been brilliant as a pro. Some people think he's the best heavyweight in America already, over Wilder, over Michael Hunter and the rest of the guys. And you've got Berlanga, who still hasn't lost a fight, so I don't want to be too harsh here. He's clearly won every fight he's had, but I don't know. Something's definitely missing. And when he went the distance with Demond Nicholson, which I was shocked about because I don't rate Demond Nicholson too much. I remember him quitting against Jesse Hart. I didn't think that Berlanga would struggle with him. And then when he got put down in the next fight after that, and then this one here where he looked at times a little bit worried about overcommitting, I don't know what's going on with him, man. It's something is missing. And yeah, I remember after one of his fights, he was, I think, in the studio dancing with Snoop Dogg, and you know, he's I don't want to stereotype him, but like, I think he sort of was driving around flashy cars, buying flashy things, and Jared Anderson is completely not like that from what I've seen. So I don't know. I think he needs to maybe take a little bit more, take a leaf out of Jared's book and maybe spend a bit more time around him. Maybe Jared needs to, tell him a few things or whatever, some home truths or something. Just kind of get him back on track, because something's missing, and right now we're just not sure where he is. Again, it's so hard to determine where a guy is when they're knocking everyone out, and then when they step up the opposition, you're like, what? You didn't knock him out though? And then you've been knocked down by him, who got knocked out by him, and then you go the distance with Steve Rolls, and now we're just really unsure. Like, would he be able to hang with the other guys at that weight? We're just not sure. I don't know where his level is, because he blew through one level, and then when he stepped up to the next level, it was a very, very steady step up. It seems like, well, all of a sudden his ceiling has just fallen down massively, and he's kind of not far from his ceiling. It's really odd, but we shall see what happens with him. All the best to him. Hope he gets back with those knockouts, because for a time, I mean, he was probably the prospect, the brightest prospect in the whole world for a little time there. But he needs to get back to it. He still hasn't lost a fight, but something has certainly changed, it would seem. But anyway, that is it though for the review part of the show. Just before we wrap up part one, the final thing for me to do is to come in with this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated #1 ranked super middleweight contender in the world. It is, of course, Mr. Zach Parker. Zach, welcome back on the show, my man.
Yeah, good to be here, mate. Good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Always good speaking with you, Zach. So we last spoke back in November, just after the Marcus Morrison win last time out. Obviously, not too much has happened since then. The latest news, though, is this upcoming fight, May 21st, Pride Park Derby. I know you've always dreamt of fighting there one day, but to bring a fighter like Demetrius Andrade over there, Zach, I mean, this is mega. I'm sure you're over the moon. Uncle Frank dug deep in those pockets to get you that home advantage.
That's it, yeah. I'm absolutely buzzing that. Not only fighting, obviously, Pride Park, getting like a massive fight with Demetrius Andrade, 2-weight world champion, been round the block like plenty of times. So yeah, it's amazing that obviously Frank and all my team can get over the line, and that's what your promoters meant to do, just back the boy in it. So yeah, we're just looking forward to showing what, not just like what I'm about, but what Derby's about as well. They don't get spoke about much in the boxing scene, so yeah, we're just trying to put it on the map.
Yeah, and that brings me on to my next question pretty well. What do you anticipate the crowd will be like? Will it be hostile for Andrade, do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. It'll just be a pro-Parker crowd that will. Obviously, being in Derby, this is my hometown, and we're hoping to fill it, you know what I mean? But obviously, we've got a hard fight in front of us, so yeah, don't obviously the crowd ain't going to have where I'm in the ring, so yeah, I'm fully focused on the fight.
It's excellent, and I'm really hoping for such a fantastic turnout, and it's something that I think Even though Andrade is very experienced, he wouldn't have probably been in an environment like that. What do you think of Andrade, Zach? Because sometimes he kind of gets a lot of stick from the casuals, sometimes even the hardcores. But if we're being honest, he's extremely awkward. He's very, very skilled. What's your thoughts on him, though?
That's it, yeah. He's, like I said earlier, he's been round the block. I think he's getting on like 34 now, so yeah. Awkward southpaw. Yeah, he's a hard man to beat. That's why I was undefeated and been a 2-weight world champion. But I just think I've got it in the locker to beat him. Obviously, I'm awkward myself, switch hitter, and I can bang with both hands. He's coming up a weight again. He started off at like middle, and then he's come up to middle, and now he's come up to super middle. And he's been hurt in them smaller weights before, and when I hurt whoever I'm in with, when I hurt him, I don't let up, and I always get him out of there. So yeah, I think it's just the right time for me. I'm 27, coming into my prime, and yeah, I think everything's just falling into place for me. Especially like it's in my hometown as well. It just gives me that extra boost.
And after Frank Warren announced your fight on May 21st, just days later, Eddie Hearn announced Craig Richards versus Josh Buatsi for the same date. Not ideal for boxing fans. Do you think that will have a negative impact on the viewing figures or perhaps the fans in attendance in any way, Zach?
No, I don't think it will at all. Obviously, this is a much bigger fight than that. I'm fighting a 2-weight world champion. Whoever wins out of this gets Canelo next, and yeah, if like obviously it's bad for box fans because they ain't gonna be able to watch them both live at the time. But we put ours out first, so they just want to rival it. You would have thought Eddie Hearn would have been on at the show, looking at his fight of get beat in Andrade. So yeah, we'll just have to. Obviously, you don't back his boy as much as you thought, and yeah, I don't think it'll do much to the viewing figures because this is a bigger fight. You get me?
No, I agree. Certainly a lot more on the line. 2 undefeated fighters, a former 2-weight world champion against, number 1 ranked. No one knows how good you are just yet. Everyone's just, waiting to see what you can do. And, those two guys, I mean, Craig Richards is a good friend of mine, but, hasn't really cut it at top level just yet, and obviously Buatsi's still a bit unproven, very slow his progression. Anyways, as you say, it's for the interim WBO super middleweight world title. It would appear certainly as though the winner will surely get the Canelo fight, but you just never know with Canelo, Zach. He's got his own rules.
Yeah, definitely. He's a cash man in the boxing scene at the minute, and but there's only so long until the mandatory gets pulled up. I've been mandatory for like over 2 years now, and I think this is like the final eliminator. Well, you should hope it is fighting the caliber of what Andrade is. Yeah, I think it will get brought up to Canelo after this, saying either you got to fight, or obviously if you're staying at light heavy, like obviously he's gone up to light heavy, so he might want to stay up there. He'll have to vacate, and then whoever, obviously if I win this fight, I'll be made world champion straight away because it's for the interim. So yeah. We'll just wait and see what he's doing, but I'd love that fight as well in the future.
And as we're on the subject of Canelo, obviously 2 weeks before your fight, he goes up to 175, as you correctly said, to take on Bivol. Are you a fan of that fight? How do you see it going, Zach?
Yeah, I think Canelo is he wants to chase big fights, obviously box world champions, and yeah, I think it's a good fight. Obviously, he's going up in weight again, but I reckon Canelo will probably get him out late on. He's elusive, too elusive for them bigger guys. Like it's too quick for him, and yeah, I think he'll probably get him out later on.
And last time we spoke, you were kinda hinting a little bit at your desire to maybe in the future take on Chris Eubank Jr. Is that still something that interests you or not at the minute?
Yeah, 100% in the future. We'll see. Obviously. He's on his path with obviously Sky and that, and I'm with BT at the minute. But if it makes sense down the line, I'm definitely up for it. Like I said, I've said loads of times, I think everyone in the UK would want me to absolutely knock and Spark out. So yeah, if it come up in the future, then we'll take it with both hands. But I'm fully focused on Andrade on 21st of May at the minute.
Yeah, for sure. And my final two questions, I just want to get your take on two other fights that's taking place. Another one for your division, David Benavidez, David Lemieux, same night as your fight. Some people are a little bit not too excited about that one, to be honest, but how do you see it going? Any interest?
No, I think Benavidez will walk for him. Yeah. He's been beat loads of times at middleweight and outbox loads of times, and you see the size of Benavidez compared to Lemieux is too big for him, and I don't even know if he's fought at super middle properly, Lemieux, but I'd see Benavidez easy win there.
And then last but not least, of course, not in your weight class, but I know you'll be watching it for sure. Fury Whyte, April 23rd. Yeah. I think you're back in Fury.
Yeah, I should be ringside for that one. Yeah, you got to get to them special nights in boxing. I think that's going to be one of them. Obviously, Wembley. It's going to be packed out, 100,000 people. So yeah, hopefully ringside for that, and I'm back in my man Fury. So yeah, I think he'll probably he'll outbox him at first, and then maybe take him out later on. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one, and I'm sure you will take some time away to get over there. You have to. Just finally, Zach, if you've got any closing words before we wrap it up, my man, say whatever you like before we let you go.
Yeah, just make sure you watch Fight 21st May, BT Sport. And obviously, if you're getting tickets, £10 off every ticket goes back to Derby County. Obviously, we're in a bad time at the minute with administration and that. So, yeah, it's just like as soon as I said that I was boxing at Pride Park, I said to Frank, we need to give back to the club as well. So, yeah, £10 off every ticket goes back to the club. So, tune in.
Yeah, that's an amazing gesture. Every ticket, that's a big percentage as well there. Listen, Zach, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Best of luck, of course, for May 21st, and we'll speak sometime afterwards.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with the fact that Probellum have signed Jack Catterall. So he is signed with Probellum promotionally. Good stuff for him off the back of his very controversial quote-unquote loss to Josh Taylor. It's been officially announced. We spoke to the man a few moments ago. Zach Parker will be taking on Demetrius Andrade. That one to take place May 21st in Derby, in a football stadium, in Derby County's football stadium. I think Wayne Rooney will be there, perhaps. He's the manager of Derby County as it stands. So, yeah. Brilliant stuff there for Zach Parker. We spoke to him, as I say, a couple moments ago, and Demetrius Andrade as well, friend of the show, so it's going to be a cracking fight. Really looking forward to that one there. In other news, Josh Buatsi and Craig Richards will be getting it on. Josh Buatsi, obviously the Olympic bronze medalist. Craig Richards, the former world title challenger, came up short just against Dimitri Bivol. He gets in with Buatsi. Great fight. Both guys not only from London, but actually both from kind of Croydon ways, really, where I'm from. So it's a massive fight. Buatsi, of course, grew up on the same estate I did. And Craig Richards is one of my closest friends in boxing. So really, really looking forward to that one. Unfortunately, it's going to clash with Zach Parker and Demetrius Andrade. It takes place May 21st as well. In other news, we have the fact that Montana Love will be getting in with Gabriel Valenzuela. That one's going to take place on the Canelo and Bivol undercard once again, May 7th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And also on the card, Filip Hrgović gets in with Zhilei Zhang for a final eliminator there for the IBF World Heavyweight title. Unbelievable that fight has been made. I really hope the odds are close on that, because Hrgović will knock Zhang out. Absolutely guaranteeing that one. Okay, in other news, what else do we have? What else do we have? Charlie Edwards has actually signed with Probellum as well, the former WBC flyweight world champion, another guy from Croydon, my hometown, another friend of mine. All the best to him. He's been a bit quiet since he lost his world title, been a bit inactive. I think he left Eddie Hearn, went with Frank Warren. I think he boxed on an MTK show. Now he's with Probellum. It's all been a bit here, there and everywhere, to be honest. But all the best to him. Really, really happy that he is, going to surely be back active now. And once again, it's it's looking like Probellum's intentions are to make the best fights and be quite active all over the world, actually, for all their fighters. So really pleased about that. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here with a card that takes place tomorrow at the Newcastle Arena. There's boxing all over the place this weekend, like on all different channels. So I'm guessing this is going to be on Eurosport. But anyway, back to it. Newcastle Arena. Probellum show. Really, really happy with the lineup as well. They have done excellent to get all these names from the from kind of Newcastle sides. They've done brilliant to get all these names on the bill. We've got Troy Williamson topping the bill, 17-0 with a draw in a 12-rounder, defending his British super welterweight title against Mason Cartwright, 17-2 with a draw. We've got Lewis Ritson, the Sandman, 22-2 in a 10-rounder against former world champion. I'm sure he was it the WBC lightweight title? I think he had Dejan Zlaticanin, who's been a little bit hit and miss since being knocked out by Mikey Garcia. He's 24-3. We've got Thomas Patrick Ward, 31-0 with a draw in a 10-rounder against Alexis Cabor, who's 29-5. Definitely seen that name before, Alexis Cabor. Just trying to rack my brain where I've seen it. I know I've seen that one before. Some names that you go over, of all the thousands of names I've gone over, probably tens of thousands of names, some just stick out to you. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God, how embarrassing. He boxed Archie Sharp last time out in one of the last boxing events I went to. That one was back in October. So yeah, went the distance with Archie Sharp, been the distance with a few other guys, Ray Vargas as well. So great stuff there. I would expect that, I don't know what the odds are going to be, but that one to go the distance is absolutely nailed on, guaranteed. It's got to be. Also on the card, Pat McCormack makes his pro debut over 6 rounds against Danny Mendoza, who's 6-7. And we also have Joe Laws on the card as well, 12-1, no opponent just yet for him. Moving on now to this one, it takes place in Argentina at the Estadio Luna Park in Buenos Aires. Over here, the undefeated Argentine Gustavo Daniel Lemos, who's 27-0 in a 12-rounder here against friend of the show, former IBF featherweight world champion Lee Selby, 28-3. Not really sure where Lee Selby's at these days. Again, it's been quite slow since he lost his world title to Warrington. I think, didn't he come back against Ricky Burns, and that wasn't a great fight. And, he's popped up here kind of out of nowhere. I think it's going to be on Premier Sports in the UK, which I think is a subscription channel. But anyway, all the best to Lee Selby. Really, really, always been a massive supporter of Lee Selby. So I'm hoping he can do the business against an undefeated Argentine there. I know he's been sparring hard, training hard, stuff like that in the build-up to this fight. It's over 12 rounds. I think it's a final eliminator as well. So hopefully he can win. All the best to him out there in Argentina. Moving out now to this one here, which I really love. It's at the Firat Arslan Sports Centre. Who do you think the promoter might be here, Eddie?
Borat?
No, of course, the promoter of the show, obviously, Firat Arslan. Not only is he the promoter of the show, not only is he fighting on the card, but he's actually the venue itself is named after him. He's 51 years of age now. He's record 50-9 with 3 draws, getting in with Tony Thez, who's 19-10 with a draw. And this one I love as well. On the undercard, there's a guy called Daniel Dietz. And you've guessed it, he of course is a heavyweight. So I'm not sure what diet he's on. But he gets in with a guy.
Why did you have to say that? Why did you have to say heavyweight? And he's a heavyweight.
He's making his pro debut over 4 rounds against a guy who's 0-2. So all the best to Mr. Dietz.
I think his diet is a seafood diet. But not the kind of seafood you're thinking of.
Yeah. You see the food.
You eat it.
Oh, good. Yeah. As I said earlier on in the show, you're going to probably feel like you've banged your head and woke up in 2007 because we moved now to Germany. We were just in Germany, but we're moving to another part of Germany. This one at the Westfalen Hall in Dortmund. Over here, we've got Felix Sturm, 42-5 with 3 draws, fighting here for the IBO Intercontinental Super-Middleweight title title against Isvan Sili, who is 25-2 with 2 draws. On the undercard as well, Rhino Liebenberg, 21-8 with a draw, getting in with Kasim Umar, 29-16 with a draw. Moving out now to the duty-free tennis stadium in Dubai, United Arab Emirates over here, and as I said, it really is going to feel like you've banged your head and woke up in 2007, because over here we have the return to the ring for Mr. Marcos El Chino Maidana. He gets back in the ring here against a YouTuber by the name of Yao Cabrera, who I think apparently was most famous because he went viral because he did a prank where he faked his own death or something. But anyway, great to see Marcos Maidana back. He seems like he's shedded a lot of weight, and it's just so random, and I love a random fight. Why on earth is Marcos Maidana put down the whiskey bottles and the cigars and ended up in Dubai fighting a YouTuber? You could never predict it. That's why we love the sport of boxing. Elsewhere on the card, we've got Mike Perez as well, the Cuban, obviously down at cruiserweight these days, 26-3 with a draw, fighting here for the WBA Intercontinental Cruiserweight title against Vasil Dukar, who some people might remember he boxed. He boxed Chris Smith recently, about a year ago, maybe, something like that, within the last year. So, yeah, that's where I know him from. Elsewhere on the card, Lemroy Thomas, 25-5 with a draw in an 8-rounder against Agron Smakichi, who's 17-1. That's about it there for that one. Moving out now to the Victoria Warehouse in Trafford Road, Manchester, Lancashire. Over here, friend of the show, I want to say former co-host, even though she only co-hosted one show, but Hannah Bagley, 1-0 as a pro. She is having her second pro fight over 4 2-minute rounds against Becky Ferguson, who's 1-4. Moving out now to the Wembley Arena. I was there last Saturday, but this one I should have tried to go to be honest, but I left it too late. But anyway, really, really good card, and I'm gutted that I didn't apply for it. We've got Chris Congo, 12-1, getting in with Kelvin Dotel, who is 14-6. We've got Shannon Ryan, who is a lady making her debut over 4 2-minute rounds. She's actually being managed, I believe, by Anthony Joshua, so perhaps she's special. I'm not too sure. I've only seen a few pictures of her. I haven't seen what she fights like, but she's on that card. We've got Zach Chelly, 10-1 with a draw in a 6-rounder, no opponent just yet for him. We've got Joe Pigford, 18-0, always in a great fight in a 6-rounder against David Romero, who's 12-14 with a draw. We've got the sister of Daniel Dubois, Caroline Dubois, in a 6 2-minute round contest. She's 1-0. She gets in with Martina Horgaz, who's 5-8. We've got Dan Aziz, 15-0 in a 10-rounder against Matthew Tinker, who's 8-0. I'm pretty sure Dan Aziz had the British title. Not sure what's gone on with that one. Why isn't this a defence of it? I don't know. Maybe he's vacated it. Not too sure. Elsewhere on the card, a good fight as well. Quite a 50-50, I guess, between Louis Green, who's 13-2, and Harry Scarf, who's 10-2. That one's for the vacant English welterweight title. And the main event, 2 undefeated cruiserweights getting it on. Richard Riakporhe, 13-0. Dion Juma, 14-0. Over 12 rounds. Really surprised to see that. Thought it would probably be a 10-rounder. But yeah, no belt on the line. Dion Juma, as I've said, I feel like a broken record. He has been kind of super duper inactive. He's been around for a long time, it seems like. He's 32 or 33 now, and his career's just been moving so slowly. Turned pro, I think he had a couple fights maybe in the UK, then he signed, I believe, with Sauerland. He was fighting out there on undercards in Germany and maybe even Denmark. It was really random, and then he came back, and I remember he was on the sofa with Steve Bunce, for the Box Nation show that they used to have all them years ago. That's been gone for years, and he was an undefeated prospect at that point, and to think he's only 14-0 now, and it's been God knows how many years. It's been so slow, but he gets in with Richard Riakporhe. It's going to be a good fight, I think, and yeah, good to see. I mean, Juma needs to win this fight. It's a must-win, an absolute must-win to take his career to the next level. If he loses it, that's probably career over, really, and that sounds crazy, but I think that's probably the truth. Moving out now to the First Direct Arena in Leeds, Yorkshire, United Kingdom. Once again, have you banged your head? Are we in 2007? Kiko Martinez is champion of the world currently, and it seems crazy. 43-10 with 2 draws, defending his IBF World Featherweight title against former champion, former holder of this exact belt, Josh Warrington. 30-1 with a draw. The pair had a really close fight before. A lot of people felt that Martinez nicked it. Martinez since then though seemed to regress, while Josh Warrington certainly upped his game, beat Carl Frampton, beat Lee Selby, became world champion. But then again, Martinez rolled back the clock last time out by knocking out Kid Galahad. So I think it's going to be interesting, and we're not too sure what Warrington has really got left after he fought that guy whose name I always confuse with someone else, and someone correctly or corrected me last time. They said it wasn't that guy, it was that guy. So I'm going to check it. Warrington lost to Maurizio Lara, yeah, so he lost to him, obviously, the first fight, and then they had the rematch where, you know, Warrington went straight back in with him, and then it ended in a technical draw after 2 rounds because of a cut. So we're still not too sure. We haven't really seen much of Warrington. We've seen 1.5 rounds since he got pretty much destroyed really by Maurizio Lara. So I don't know. Is there going to be demons there? Martinez certainly seems to be up for it at this stage of his career. He likes to let those hands go. He can punch. Who else on the card? We've got Maxi Hughes. Great fight here. Maxi Hughes, 24-5 with 2 draws, having probably the best time of his career right now. He's on such a run. He defends his IBO World Lightweight title against Ryan Walsh, 27-3 with 2 draws. That's over 12 there. Ryan Walsh, good fighter, but seems like he as well kind of needs a win here really to stay in the game, stay at that kind of top, well, I say top level, domestically. He needs to win this fight. It's a must-win fight for him. His career looks like it's kind of going down the pan at the minute. Elsewhere on the card, we've got Maria Cecilia Roman, who has a record of 16-5, with a draw, by the way. She gets in with Ebony Bridges, 7-1. This is for the IBF World Female Bantamweight title. Thing about Maria Cecilia Roman is that she's got the 16 wins, never actually managed to get a knockout, and her 5 losses, none of them have come by knockout. Ebony Bridges, obviously known as the blonde bomber, but I don't think really hits that hard, to be completely honest. I think it goes the distance here over 10 2-minute rounds. I'm gonna be really interested to see what Ebony Bridges' gas tank's going to look like as well in the second half of that fight, because even though Maria Roman, I haven't seen her before, but I'm going off her record, 39 years of age, and 16-5 with a draw, and it is quite crazy to think that she is an IBF bantamweight world champion. She actually lost, by the way, in February of last year to Melissa Odessa Parker, but thankfully, what's the word I'm looking for? Fortunately for Maria Roman, her belt wasn't on the line, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it was just made over the weight limit there, catch weight. But her belt wasn't on the line, so she lost and then still was champion, still held the title. But yeah, I'm just looking for her record as well. She ain't really been in with any standout names to me. We'll see. There was a period in her pro career, I think, early on, where she actually lost 4 fights on the bounce and then got a draw. And then since then, she's been racking up wins. A no contest in there as well. And the loss to Melissa Odessa Parker, who's a really good fighter, that one was actually a majority decision loss there. So, that's interesting, actually. She could perhaps even upset the apple cart. We'll see. Should be a great fight. Elsewhere on the card, one of the best prospects certainly in the UK. A lot of people even extending that further in the UK. Dalton Smith, 9-0, trained by his father Grant Smith. He gets in with Ray Moylett, who I think's from Ireland, 12-1. That one's for the vacant WBC International Silver Super Lightweight title. We've also got on the card, and this is another one. I've got some really interesting picks if anyone wants to jump on an accumulator or a parlay this weekend. Sky Nicholson, 1-0, getting in with Beck Connolly. I really, really think that one goes a distance. I think Sky Nicholson to win that one on points there. And there's a lot of other fights that I've already mentioned as well that I think are gonna go a certain way. So hit me up if you want my picks. Thankfully we've not got Edgar Berlanga fighting again this weekend to ruin it all for us. Just kidding. Elsewhere, moving out now to the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This one's going to be on Showtime. And I was supposed to be getting this guy on the show this week, but unfortunately it fell through. So hopefully at a later date. I was a little bit gutted actually, but the guy that I'm talking about is Mr. Tim Tszyu, the son of Costa Tszyu. His record 20-0 in a 12-rounder against Olympian turned pro, and he's not a bad pro to be honest. Terrell Gausha, 22-2 with a draw. This one's for the WBO global middleweight title. Terrell Gausha, obviously one of those Olympians that turned over. I don't think he really ever had much kind of shine, even though, a guy that makes it to the USA boxing team for the Olympics turns pro. Usually there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of shine, everyone's excited. I don't really think that he had that, to be honest, which is quite unfortunate. And obviously he's had a couple of losses, 2 losses. I know one was to Lara. I think the other one might have been to Lubin. I think he might have a draw in there. He's got a draw. It might have been with Austin Trout. Maybe I'm making that up. But he's not a bad fighter. He seems like he's kind of gone from a high level amateur straight to a gatekeeper almost. So hopefully he can do something in this fight. But Tim Tszyu looks like he has much more than just his old man's surname, it would appear. Also on the card, we've got Michel Rivera, who's 22-0, a good prospect. I think he scored a great knockout last year, if my memory serves me correct. And I think he's the guy that likes to get his hair cut the same as Muhammad Ali's and even wear Ali on his shorts. But anyway, he gets in with Joseph Adorno, who's 14-0 with 2 draws. That's over 10 rounds. Should be a good fight there. What else do we have on that card? Nothing else really to mention. Moving out to Las Vegas now at the Resorts World. This one, I'm not sure what channel it's going to be on, but I think it's definitely a top rank show. So I'm guessing it's going to be on Sky Sports over here. On the undercard, what do we have? We've got Josu Vargas, who's 19-2 in an 8-rounder against Nicolas DeMario, who's 15-5 with 3 draws. Vargas, is he the guy that got knocked out last time by... I'm sure that's the guy who got knocked out by Zepeda. Yeah, it is. He got knocked out in a round by Zepeda last time. Yeah, so he makes. Yeah,
I was gonna help you out with that. Yeah, he definitely did. I think, and Ant knows him well, so that's why I definitely was gonna chime in. But you got it, Joe.
Cool. He's only 23, which I was quite surprised. I didn't know he was that young, but he gets in here with, as I say, Nicolas DeMario, 15-5 with 3 draws. It's an 8-rounder there, so all the best to Vargas. Hopefully he can bounce back from that bad knockout actually last time out. Elsewhere on the card, let's just go straight to the main event. We've got Miguel Berchelt, 38-2, stepping in with Jeremiah Nakafila, 22-2. Obviously Nakafila I think it was probably last time out. I don't think he's boxed since. He lost to Shakur Stevenson. No, apparently he did go back home and pick up a win in Namibia. So yeah, he is the Namibian policeman who also owns a pub, and his nickname's Low Key. Doesn't like to post any sparring or any training footage. Everything needs to be kept under wraps, and I quite like him, to be honest. But he boxed Shakur Stevenson and he was very under-impressive, and here he gets in with Berchelt, who is coming off that devastating knockout over a year ago now to Oscar Valdez, knockout of 2021. Hasn't been in the ring since. How's he going to look? We're not too sure, but prior to that fight, and even in the early parts of that fight, a complete out-and-out beast, 38-2 with 34 KOs. I think it's the perfect kind of guy to come back to. The only thing about Nakafila is he's absolutely massive for the weight, but if Berchelt can knock him out, that's something that Shakur Stevenson didn't do, so that would be the kind of splash needed to be right back in the conversation for the big fights at 130. Again, have you banged your head and woke up in 2007? Because we're going now to the Mesquite Arena in Texas, USA. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Topping the bill. This one's crazy, Eddie. Eric Morales, 52-9, getting him over 6 rounds against Orlando Salido, 44-14 with 4 draws. Unbelievable that fight's going ahead.
Wow. Wow, that is the old folks' home right there. Oh, my goodness. That's crazy. But, hey, let them go. Let them get in there. You know, I guess that's their way of staying in shape, I guess, huh? In front of the in front of the lights and everything.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly. And then the final card to mention, all the best, by the way, to those two guys. They're two absolute legends of the sport. Still can't believe Salido beat Lomachenko and never gave him the rematch unless he got paid something like 10 million. Yeah, crazy. And yeah, the last one takes place on Tuesday, March the 29th. So by the time this fight takes place, it would have already by the time we do the show next week, this fight would have already took place, so we will be reviewing it next week, but here we are previewing it this week. It takes place in Thailand at the City Hall ground in Nakhon Sawan. Over here we've got, and this is a massive fight, by the way, we've got Panya Pradabzi. Panya Pradabzri. That's how big of a fight it is. I've had to say the guy's name 3 times. 37-1, defending his WBC world minimum weight world title against Cheaphon Moonsri, the guy that managed to get to 54-0 before losing to this guy here. So here's the rematch. Cheaphon Moonsri now 55-1. Can he beat Panya Pradabzi? And if he can beat him, which I hope he does, I'm going to petition and try and get the whole of the world to sign a petition where, because he beat the guy that beat him, we can just go back and rub that defeat out on his record so he can still be undefeated and still carry on his mission to get to 60-0. Clearly a much better fighter than Mayweather was in his prime. The numbers do not lie. All the best to Cheaphon Moonsri there in Thailand. But anyway, that is it though for the preview part of the show. In part 1 we did the reviewing, then we welcomed our special guest, Mr. Zach Parker, the undefeated #1 ranked WBO middleweight, super middleweight in the world, the man who is mandatory for Canelo Alvarez. He's getting it on with Demetrius Andrade. It's going to be exciting. May 21st in Derby. And then in part 2 we did the news and the previewing that I've just wrapped up there. That is everything. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 336 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to our special guest this week, the undefeated WBO #1 ranked super middleweight in the world, which was, of course, Mr. Zach Parker. Big thanks to him. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Thank you once again for tuning into this week's show. Remember, if you do have a spare couple minutes, please leave us a review on iTunes. It always means a hell of a lot to us. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. There's lots of boxing to enjoy, and we shall see you all again next week.